All right, guys. So today we're talking about sleep maxing, why sleep is important, how to improve your sleep. If any of you guys are aspiring coaches, this is very important to know when clients are dieting, struggling with sleep. I have my guys enter their sleep every single day with their daily check-in with their weight. So I'm always on them to get the best sleep possible because it makes a huge difference. And once you start sleep maxing, you don't go back. And then we'll cover how to fix the sleep issues that you will start running into when you are very, very lean, dieting to either get stage lean or actually compete and get stage lean. So yeah.
Yep. A lot of people lock in their training, nutrition, but they don't count the sleep variables and how that can affect everything as well. So one of the highest leverage things you can actually optimize is your sleep. So we're going to be going over why sleep is so important. You know, it's easy to say, you go to bed at the same time, wake up at the same time, but that's not very practical for a lot of people, you know, within reason. So understanding why can actually help you stay more motivated to actually better your sleep. We're going to go over how do we quantify good sleep, regularity, quality, length, and consistency. Then what to program if sleep is struggling or just to get better sleep, what you should eat before bed, what supplementation protocols you should do, how to wind down properly. Then we're going to go over our protocols and some protocols we give clients as well.
Let's do it. All right. So why is sleep so important? A bunch of different things, right? Muscle protein synthesis and recovery. You guys know that we need sleep to build muscle, right? And recover for our next session. Also training performance. This is pretty self-explanatory. Go to the gym off 5 hours of sleep or go to the gym off 8 hours of sleep, right? In the long term, if you want to get the best out of muscle growth and maximize your muscle growth, you have to have good training performance, continuing to progressive overload. What happens if you're chronically sleep deprived? Training performance is going to go to crap. You know, one day of bad sleep might not kill you, but when it's constant day after day after day after week, that is going to mess things up, man, honestly.
Yeah, you know, acute sleep loss, obviously your NEAT is going to go down, your total daily energy expenditure is going to go down because of that. That can make fat loss harder, as well as influence your hunger hormones and dopamine. So food reward is going to increase when you're on a lack of sleep, even just for one day. Leptin is going to be lower, ghrelin, your hunger hormone is going to be higher. So it's going to be hard to stick to a fat loss plan. Like we said, with training performance, your training output is going to be lower. So, you know, perception of effort is higher. You're not going to be outputting as much in the gym. There are metabolic effects. You know, glucose handling is downregulated even after a night of bad sleep. Cortisol is also increased, you know, and as a natural bodybuilder, especially if you're in a fat loss phase or you're low body fat, lack of sleep is going to amplify all the negative effects on your natural steroid hormone production and growth hormone production, which is produced during, you know, the first 1 or 2 hours of slow wave sleep, which is super important for mobilizing fat as well as overall recovery. Thyroid might be downregulated. And then, yeah, we see, you know, one night of bad sleep will have some bad consequences, but there aren't huge long-term consequences of one night of bad sleep. It happens and there's nothing really wrong with it, especially if maybe you're working towards something at night, you stay up late, or you're just having fun. Like, these things happen. It's totally fine. But chronic sleep loss is where we run into actual issues. And short-term consequences of that is even more fatigue, right? Like Gabe said, if you have 5, 6 nights in a row of bad sleep, your training performance is going to be so much worse than just that one night of bad sleep. Same with all of these issues. Then long-term consequences to your longevity, if you want to be in the sport for a long time or just optimize your health for a long time, you know, there's obvious metabolic risks, mental health risks, more risk of diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and, you know, it's a sense associated with, you know, mortality rates, right?
Yeah, and even too, like, just if you're dieting or you're even reverse dieting and your hunger is really high, have a night of bad sleep and see how much hungrier you are. They've done so many studies on this, on cravings, on hunger. Your hunger is way, way higher when you have that acute sleep loss. So if you're dieting, if you're reverse dieting, if you're someone that's a hungry guy, treat your sleep like gold. Otherwise, you're setting yourself up for failure on the cut or the reverse diet. And then also, yeah, even with acute sleep loss, we have lowered alertness and performance, lowered insulin sensitivity, and we can, regress on movements, right? If we're not feeling as good in the gym. But dude, even outside of the gym, even outside being a bodybuilder, we're gonna have lower cognitive function and lower alertness if even we're acutely sleep deprived. And so, if you're trying to work max, if you're trying to achieve something, you want your cognitive function to be at its best. And so I think a lot of people want to be workaholics or thug out bad sleep, but it's so important for all areas of life, not just bodybuilding, but also work or building a business.
Yeah, especially if you're an aspiring coach or entrepreneur, or even just trying to level up anywhere in life with your work, with your knowledge, anything like that. Sleep is so important, especially once you get deep into coaching, you're really stressed. We'll talk about stress management a bit later in this, how it impacts sleep, but sleep is your number one thing to get up every day and be able to actually have the mental output you need to give a good service to all of your clients as well, or whatever other goals you have.
All right, what is optimal sleep? This is a direct screenshot from my Whoop. Join the Peak Natty Whoop group if you aren't in it already, but I'm pretty much green every single day because I keep track of my sleep regularity, my sleep quality, my sleep duration, and my sleep consistency. And we'll go into those, but I think the first thing I want to answer here is, should you track your sleep, right? Since we're talking about the Whoop already, right? So a couple things to touch on here. Data is arbitrary, right? They use just formulas based off your heart rate to track these things, right? And so it's important to kind of take them with a grain of salt. They are, somewhat accurate, and it's good to track, right? Mainly because of the motivation factor, right? When I have the motivation every single day to wake up, check my sleep, and make sure it's good, even if it's just based on an arbitrary formula, that is motivating me to keep my good sleep habits every single day to wake up in the green. So I think you should track your sleep if something like motivation incentivizes you to really dial in and keep these good habits, as it does for me. But at the end of the day, I tell this to clients all the time, how you feel is king, right? What good is a number if you're waking up after 8 hours feeling refreshed? That is the most important thing. How you feel, how you cognitively perform, that feeling, and just your overall like cognitive function and the feeling of being rested is the most important thing out of everything. Data, in my opinion, is best for motivation, right? It motivates me to check the boxes when it comes to sleep hygiene every single night. So if it motivates you, you should track your sleep, but you also don't need to. You can just instill the basic sleep habits and then kind of see, okay, dude, last night I was asleep for 8 hours. I feel great. My sleep score, if I had a watch, would probably be really high. So you don't need it whatsoever. It's just very motivating and tracked over long periods of time with the same formula off the same watch, right? You can start to see patterns, and you can, to use the data to make decisions, I guess. But the most important thing is how you feel.
Yeah. If you've got those 4 things dialed in, it really comes down to motivation and preference. To give the counter argument, just to be devil's advocate, you could say demotivating if you see a bad sleep score and now you're not going to go as hard in your training session, or you're not going to get as many steps. You might just be psychologically demotivated.
Placebo's real. Placebo is real.
So there's a risk of placebo happening, but at the end of the day, it is a good metric. In terms of data for coaching decisions as coaches or as an athlete, maybe coaching yourself, it's not necessarily the most useful for actually making changes or making decisions, unless we see sleep is obviously something that's suffering. We need to improve sleep, which at the end of the day comes down to improving sleep regularity, sleep quality, sleep duration, sleep consistency. So as long as you're working on those things and they're, subjectively optimized, having data helps and it's motivating, but it's not 100% necessary. It really depends on your preferences.
Something I do, if you kind of know you had a bad night of sleep, like you just because you to see it, you have to open the app and check it, or you have to look at what you got. And so, say I went to bed late, I was out with the boys till like 1 a.m. Right? Normally go to bed at 9 or 10, and I'm like, all right, dude, I slept like 6 hours. The sleep score not going to be the best. Maybe I won't even check it, right? So you don't even get that placebo thing. So that's a trick that I know some people can do, and I've recommended before. If you kind of know you got a bad night's sleep, hey, you know what? Don't even check it, because if you're in the yellow or the red, that might throw you off for your workout, especially if it's a training day, because placebo is so real. Liam's right.
Yeah. And honestly, even after one night of bad sleep, or if you're out partying, if you drank, you're hungover, sometimes you can wake up with exceptional energy, even though you know you're fatigued,
Mhm.
it's not in a good spot. You can still go to the gym, you can still show up, you can still actually work hard. So even in those cases, there's no real excuse. So that's actually a really good strategy, is just not checking it in those cases, but on the consistent nights, yeah, it can be great data.
All right, bedtime nutrition, right? So, I guess before we get into things, I'll just go over the typical bedtime meal for me. So this is typically going to be non-fat Greek yogurt or skyr with kiwis, mixed berries, and honey, and then sometimes either some nuts or nut butter. And the reason for this, right, is we get plenty of fructose from the berries and kiwi, tops off liver glycogen, keeps blood sugar stable throughout the night. Because what a lot of people run into, what I ran into a ton on my last prep, my least favorite thing is the middle of the night wake ups, the cortisol spikes where you cannot fall back asleep anywhere from like 3 to 5 a.m. That is the worst. One of the best ways to do is shift more carbohydrates to bedtime, specifically lots of fructose from fruit and honey will help keep blood sugar stable throughout the night, so those wake ups are not happening. Because if you had those happen, you kind of just wake up, cortisol's high, and you just cannot fall back asleep typically. And so the pre bedtime meal, when you get deeper into prep, if you want to shift this, 1 to 2 hours closer to bed, so maybe a little bit closer than you normally might, just to really ensure that you get the best sleep. That is very, very useful for those middle of the night wake ups that I hate so much personally. You can also do tart cherry as well as kiwi for the natural melatonin.
Yep. I'm also a proponent of eating closer to bed. I don't think if you're doing a good meal like that, like a yogurt bowl, there's no real issue. It's actually a net positive to helping you stay asleep. So, uh, what's up, Elliot?
I had a question. So the natural melatonin, you said kiwi and then what else?
Tart cherries
Tart cherries?
or tart cherry
Mhm.
juice is a good option.
Okay, all right.
Actually has more
Sweet. Thank you.
melatonin than kiwis. Yeah, for sure. So I do a similar meal for myself and almost all of my clients is a Greek yogurt bowl before bed. Even if you're lactose intolerant, you can easily get some lactose-free dairy. Um, right. So essentially, what Gabe went over, adding some starchy carbs is also a good idea because insulin, if you have a hard time winding down, especially on prep, actually elevating your insulin before bed is going to pull more large neutral amino acids that compete with tryptophan, which is another amino acid that is the precursor to serotonin, which how we make melatonin is from serotonin. So we want more tryptophan to cross the blood-brain barrier. So we pull other large neutral amino acids like leucine into our muscle cells by elevating insulin. So that'll allow more tryptophan to cross, increase your serotonin, thus increase melatonin before bed. So that's why after a high carb meal, when your insulin is high, you might feel kind of drowsy, kind of lethargic. So some starchy carbs. If you have the room, I would prioritize the fructose first to keep liver glycogen saturated, keep blood sugar stable. You don't want to go hypoglycemic or your cortisol rises at night, like Gabe said. But if you have the room for it, definitely add some starchy carbs. Like you can crush up rice cakes, put them in your yogurt bowl. You could do like
Yeah, that's gas.
Rice Krispies cereal in the yogurt bowl. You could cook some potato, like sweet potato fries on the side. You could have some sourdough.
Yeah,
Um,
the Greek yogurt or whatever is not magic. It's just an easy, nice bowl to whip up, right? Sweet treat, go to final meal. I have plenty of clients that eat
yeah,
a protein and then potatoes, and then I always will put some fruit with the meal as well for fructose, right? With the potatoes and meat, you know. But it's also important to note that yeah, Greek yogurt's not magic. Kiwis aren't magic either. The most important thing is fructose. Like you don't need to be eating kiwis to maximize your sleep. Just any type of fruit, honestly, for the fructose.
yeah. Fructose and vitamin C is also good before
Yeah,
bed.
vitamin C.
Kiwis are very high in vitamin C, but all fruits essentially are gonna have some vitamin C, and right, it regulates adrenocorticotropic hormone, which stimulates cortisol release. So if you're deficient in vitamin C, you might have some cortisol dysregulation. So if you want steady cortisol, you need enough vitamin C, especially if you're training. It's also a good antioxidant. Um, other micronutrients before bed. Uh, Micronutrients throughout the day, like choline, magnesium, zinc, are going to also help regulate your nervous system. So, like we said, managing stress, regulating nervous system is really important for sleep. Fats and fiber are going to affect gastric emptying and how much water is drawn into the GI. So, some fiber from fruit can actually be beneficial. So, you're not excreting tons of water through the night. It'll actually draw some water to your GI. So, you hold a bit more before bed. Fats, it's good to include some fats so you don't get a crazy insulin spike and crash. You'll also get more micronutrients from things like, I like to program walnuts, some sort of nut butter. You can even add egg yolks. A lot of people think it's weird, but it's really easy to separate the white from the yolk. You don't have to cook it. There's no bacteria, there's no salmonella in the yolk. That's in the outer film of the eggshell. So you can separate it, whip it up in your yogurt bowl. That's what they do in most ice cream. And that is obviously very dense in micronutrients. And I think it adds a good texture. Another specific amino acid would be glycine. Glycine is an inhibitory neurotransmitter, so it really helps you wind down. So that's from protein sources like collagen. So I like to put some collagen powder or collagen peptides, hydrolyzed, collagen protein powder in my yogurt bowl as well. What's up,
And
Eddie?
then, oh,
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, really quick. Appreciate you guys for doing this, by the way. But when I was in my I did a little aggressive cut a few months ago, and what I did at night was I did cream of wheat. Would that also count as like the starchy carb?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
So,
Okay.
right, in rice, you still have the same starches. They're just very easily accessible, digestible. So you're going to spike your insulin a lot with that. But that's similar to cream of rice, or it's a starch essentially. It's a polymer of glucose, which is what a starch is.
and then when you get lean, you will start to wake up to pee way too much in the middle of the night. Can disrupt your sleep quality and is quite annoying. And I get a lot of messages about this. So typically the go-to, besides the obvious of tapering off fluids closer to bed, is add salt to that final meal. So obviously you want to have at least like a quarter teaspoon of salt with that final meal. But sometimes when it gets bad with guys, they're waking up to pee like 5 times in the middle of the night. I'll say, hey, half a teaspoon of salt with that final meal to try to hold some more water in, because as you get peeled, it can be really easy to wake up to pee about 5-6 times in the middle of the night, which is quite annoying.
Yeah. So balancing some increased salt to hold on to more water, and then tapering off fluid intake. So you're also decreasing diuresis. You're going to, get rid of more water before bed and then hold on to some more with some more salt overnight. You still might end up peeing, but it'll be a lot less. You can at least get a solid couple hours, or at least the first 1 to 2 hours, which is your greatest, growth hormone pulse, all the good things from slow wave sleep in the first 1 to 2 hours, at least without peeing.
Sleep supplement overview. So I love sups, but honestly, guys, I just want to preface before we get into these things, you do not need all these things besides like the basics like magnesium when it comes to sleep if you're not struggling with sleep. These are supplements to tap into when you're at a high stress time of your life, when you run into those sleep issues on the diet, these are tools in your toolbox. And I think it's really important to not use every tool in the toolbox if you don't need to. Otherwise, you're just wasting money. And when you're in a low stress period of life and you're getting good sleep, you just simply don't need a lot of these things.
Yeah, so definitely the highest leverage ones I think everyone should take, especially if you're a natural, would be magnesium biglycinate is the most absorbable form. Um, I ended up switching to magnesium citrate because I ran out, and I was like crop dusting all day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it really messes with your GI.
Freaking laxative. Yeah.
It's a literal laxative. So it mostly acts in the GI, it relaxes it, and it's not going to be well absorbed. So definitely get magnesium glycinate, same with zinc glycinate. Usually bound to glycine is the most bioavailable form of almost any mineral. So magnesium and zinc are going to help regulate your nervous system. Magnesium, everyone should take, even split dose, or I recommend it before bed to wind down, but it's going to help with your metabolism, and it's needed for almost every function in the body. Zinc is also important for your nervous system. It's going to also it's also necessary for the Leydig cells in your testes to produce testosterone as a man and as a natural. So that's really important. Glycine, like I said, from collagen. You can actually supplement just glycine, or you can supplement collagen peptides, or even just gelatin. You could even make gummies I've seen people do with gelatin, or like Jello, right? If you use some sort of beef gelatin, something without, all the artificial stuff in it would be really good before bed. And taurine also acts on the same things as magnesium and glycine. It also keeps you hydrated, right? It's an amino acid. It's conditionally essential. So it helps keep you hydrated. It helps regulate the nervous system. So those four are probably the cheapest, highest leverage things you can take. Then we can get into more specific ones.
One of my favorite ones that you guys probably don't take is glycine. Glycine gives you that kind of like fall into your bed feeling, kind of just calms down your CNS, calms down your brain. So if you guys are big overthinkers and can't turn your brain off before bed, highly recommend 5 grams of glycine. It's also a precursor to glutathione, which is really good antioxidant as well. So it helps synthesize that, so that can just, it's a net positive in all things. So really, really like taking glycine.
Yeah, you got to be glycine maxing, especially if you're eating a lot of methionine and cysteine from leaner protein sources, right? Glycine's found in the collagenous cuts. So it doesn't exactly stimulate muscle growth, but it does all these things like promote glutathione, help you wind down at night. So you can get it naturally through like broth or collagenous cuts of meat, but you're usually not having that before bed. So supplementing glycine is awesome. I'll usually do collagen peptides, which give me like 3.5 grams of it. But like Gabe said, like 3 to 5 grams of glycine is really awesome before bed.
They got some pills, and then they got some powder. But yeah, it also helps bring down your body temperature, which everyone knows that helps you sleep too. So another free thing to help you sleep is crank that AC down, lower your body temperature.
Yep. L-theanine and chamomile. I don't even know how to pronounce chamomile tea. They also really help you wind down. Melatonin, 5-HTP. So 5-HTP helps your body produce melatonin, and we all know what melatonin is. So first and foremost, we want to optimize our natural melatonin production. But for people who have not done that, or they need a quick fix to sleep, melatonin's great. It's also one of the main antioxidants in the body alongside glutathione. So some people have talked about higher doses of melatonin as an antioxidant. I don't recommend that, but
yeah, I was just about to say, I think a lot of people that are probably listening to this are wondering, do we take melatonin? I personally do not right now in the off season. I only tap into it once sleep starts to take a hit, when I'm getting stage lean and I start to have the wake ups is when I'll tap into melatonin. Right now, I just optimize the other areas to help me produce great natural melatonin. That way I don't feel drowsy at all when I wake up, and I just pop right out of bed.
Yeah, do the minimum natural things first, like your light environment, things we're going to get into later that support melatonin. And then if sleep is still suffering, consider supplementing it, especially on prep. Me personally, I don't take it. I didn't even take it on prep when I was suffering, but it probably would have been good to take in that case. So
Yeah.
it's not
A lot of
huge
people
problem.
think it's like bad though, or like you build a tolerance or like reliance on it. That's not true. It's an antioxidant and it can definitely be used. You just be careful about like, dude, who wants to wake up and be drowsy for like the first 2 hours, right? Which it can often do.
There's always a trade-off with supplements, right? They always
Mhm.
have their, objective effects, like what they do. Most
I
of
like
them
I
are
like 5-HTP way better.
yeah, things. That's it. That also goes for ashwagandha, right? For some people, it can be too much. It can act like an SSRI. I also have a client who's struggling with sleep. He has I'm not going to go into his situation, but he's very, very high stressed. He's in the military and he needs ashwagandha to really help him with that stress. So if you really deal with stress, it can be good. Or if you don't deal with stress, it's not like a mandatory thing to take. Don't let the marketing get to you, talk about all of its benefits, because they may not be beneficial for you. There could actually be downsides to taking too much. I remember taking it. I didn't know the dosing. I got this powder, so I just took like a scoop, like with a literal spoon. And the next day, I was a zombie for the entire day. I had no emotion. I was like those memes, like you take ashwagandha, you don't care about anything. I genuinely felt like that. I didn't care about anything. It was on prep. And yeah, it was too much for me. So I don't take ashwagandha, but there are cases where it's very beneficial.
Yeah, I take it just because I'm pretty high stress right now with work and with business, and I notice a huge difference in lowering my cortisol at night with taking that. Saffron is super underrated. If you don't want to take ashwagandha, or if ashwagandha is not even doing enough to lower your stress, you could take saffron as well. Amazing cortisol killer. And then you typically always want to take those when you're winding down at night. I wouldn't ever take it first thing in the morning when you like want your energy and you want your oomph before the gym. I would always want to take it when you're going to wind down and you take your nighttime sups.
Yeah, I would take them with or after your last meal.
Yeah. And then phosphatidylserine is also a super potent cortisol killer. And so when you're in prep, when you're in really high stress, you're working a lot, say I used to be doing this, man. I was in college, in prep, doing my cardio, doing my training, balancing a girlfriend and balancing trying to post. And it's just like go, go, go from sun up to sundown. You're just high stress all day. That would be a great, great time to supplement with some of these supplements that can lower stress and lower cortisol. And yeah, phosphatidylserine is a really strong one. So if for some reason you guys like are where I've had this before, where you're just like your brain is just on and you just toss and turn for like an hour before you fall asleep, dude, tap into phosphatidylserine. It will kill your stress and help you sleep at night. If you're a high stress overthinker, definitely worth it. So they've really helped me with my sleep. Those cortisol lowers.
Yeah, definitely super beneficial in a lot of cases. But how you program your individual supplement stack, obviously, you may not need a cortisol killer. It might be too much for you. I would recommend the basics: magnesium, zinc, glycine, taurine from some sort of supplements. And then when it comes to the rest of the ones, it's really in terms of your individual needs, and dosing, timing can all be individual. In terms of timing, right, like we said, with or after your last meal is best for most of these. Caffeine timing is huge. Only taking caffeine in the morning or not within, I don't know your rules, Gabe, but some people say 12 hours, some people say 8 hours, no caffeine before bed, but caffeine timing is huge.
Yeah, I usually just say 10 hours before bed. So noon. Most people go to bed around 10, I feel like. And so typically we'll have them have their cutoff be at about noon.
Yeah. I personally take caffeine in the morning before fasted cardio, and then I train about 1 p.m. and I'm still in a pretty sympathetic state. I'll have 2 meals in that time frame, and it still keeps me going for that workout and keeps me working until 9 o'clock. Then it's time to wind down.
Yeah, I typically cap guys at 500 milligrams of caffeine a day and then before noon. So up to 500 before noon, you're good to go.
Yep. And then it's just assessing the cost benefit, the trade offs to all of the other compounds. Do you need melatonin? Maybe not. Do you need ashwagandha? Maybe not. Maybe it's a waste of money. Maybe you do really need it. Maybe it's a really high ROI for you. But there are some sort of risks. So we dial in all of the risk-free supplements. There's only benefits. And then we assess, the risk return, which these are all very, very low risk supplements at the end of the day. So if you think you'd benefit, you could try. But really, we look at, biofeedback and data. How these things really affect you. Are they even beneficial, or are they not worth incorporating,
Mm-hmm. Wind down routine. So before we get into this, I'll tell you guys a story. So my sleep was crap. It took me forever to fall asleep, and then I would wake up high cortisol every single morning. This was in like June and May. And what was I doing wrong? I was working too close to bed. I was on my computer doing coaching work, and then I would try like literally brushing my teeth and going to bed right away. Right? What was I skipping? I was skipping the wind down phase, and that was literally killing my sleep. So make sure you guys are winding down, and put in work away like an hour before bed. Ideally, putting your phone away an hour before bed, at least stopping scrolling an hour before bed. In my anecdotal experience, watching like YouTube videos or watching a show is much different than scrolling, right? And getting constant dopamine hits. Or texting other people, being mid-convo, that is much different than, watching a show to wind down, or watching a YouTube video, or listening to a podcast to wind down. So I just wanted to note that. But my current wind down is red light glasses go on, and typically try to put my phone away, maybe do a couple things around the house, and just wind down, whether it is reading or whether it's watching something like a YouTube video, or just preparing for the next day, meal prepping or something like that. Really just anything to get away from work and the phone. That is the number one wind down killer, I feel like.
Yeah, really, really interesting, or really, really easy tip if you do have a lot of work before bed. Like, to be honest, do as I say, not as I do, right? But I probably work really close to bed. So one tip is there are, guided meditations. Andrew Huberman has, he calls it non-sleep deep rest. So even after
SDR.
Yeah, or yoga nidra. So it's essentially,
yoga nidra.
Right. You can do breathing drills as well. So 2 really deep breaths in, and then a slow breath out through thinly pressed lips, like until you're empty. That will increase CO2 and also put you in a parasympathetic state, right? Winding down, we want to lower our core body temperature, lower our resting heart rate. So things that do that are most beneficial, and set our circadian rhythm with light environment. So by doing some breathing drills, maybe a guided meditation, I used to do them all the time on prep, and I would fall asleep before the video was even over. I would just have the video screen recorded in my camera roll so I could play it, and it wouldn't play anything after, because that would actually get me to fall asleep on prep. I don't do it anymore, but that's probably the fastest way to wind your body down. Then yeah, for me, I set my light environment, so it's good to go outside during the sunset, getting that orange light in your eyes. I have like a circadian rhythm lamp, so I can literally like turn on the sunset. For me right now, I put on blue light blocking glasses. You can get red incandescent bulbs for like $10 or $15, which they don't flicker. The flickering will, elevate cortisol. The flickering from your phone screen or monitor, right, depending on how many hertz, could be 60 times, 30 times a second. So that flickering is also increasing cortisol, even if you have the shades of blue light being blocked. So your entire environment is really affecting your physiology, right? So then a relaxing activity. I like to read. When I'm really locked in, I'll keep my phone out of my room, especially on prep.
Yeah.
I don't need an alarm. You wake up anyway.
I sleep with my phone in the bathroom, and then I just have my Whoop wake me up. Yeah, just get the phone out of the room. I literally have a daily habit for my clients that says no scrolling in bed. You can see it's a bullet point on here. Scrolling in bed is the worst thing you can do for your sleep. No matter how tired you are, if you go to scroll in bed, it will keep you up for like another hour. It is actually the number. If you take away anything from this call, do not scroll in bed.
Yeah. Any high dopamine activity for that matter. But scrolling is the number one culprit, and it's the most accessible. It's the easiest to do. So, make it harder for yourself by keeping your phone outside of your room. I do this right now. I let my phone charge in the kitchen. So it's literally downstairs. I have to get up out of my bed, go downstairs, and I usually don't go on it until I'm doing fasted cardio, where I'll answer my clients' messages and usually plan content for the day or something. And another high dopamine thing or stressful thing is training, cardio, steps. You can get your steps in at night, but I've had clients who say, I'm super hardcore. I'm going to get my steps in at midnight on my walk pad or outside. So steps are kind of okay if you need to hit your cap, but I would get that cap after your last meal and then go wind down, right? Don't do steps and then go straight to bed. Training, cardio, especially really elevating your heart rate, I would try to optimally keep that more than 4 hours before bed, training or intense cardio.
If you're walking fast, bro, you can really elevate your heart rate. Like if I'm walking at 3 miles per hour, I'm working up a sweat, and that's going to keep me from winding down before bed. But the main thing is honestly training, right? A lot of people will lift at night. Dude, go hit an intense leg day where maybe it's your squat day, you're hack squatting, and then it's like 7 p.m. Yeah, try going to bed at 10, bro. You're still going to be in fight or flight mode, and you are not going to be in that parasympathetic state where you can wind down and get ready for bed. Even if you don't take stims, like go hit a hard lift like a leg day and then try to wind down before bed. It is a noticeable difference. So ideally, the latest you lift is in the early afternoon, because lifting in the evening can really keep you from getting into that parasympathetic state, and you wonder why you can't fall asleep.
Yeah, it's going to raise your resting heart rate. It's also going to raise your BMR. It's going to raise your basal metabolic rate training. So that's another reason it can be beneficial earlier in the day, is because you'll have a higher BMR throughout the day. But when your BMR is higher, your body temperature is higher, your resting heart rate is higher. These are all the opposite effects of why we do the wind down routine. We want to lower our resting heart rate, lower our core body temperature, and not really lower our metabolism, but technically, right, going to bed. What's up, Elliot? I don't know if he has his hand raised.
But yeah, these are all like little things that make a huge difference when you're struggling with sleep on the diet. Because if anyone in here has been stage lean, sleep starts to take a hit. So, but to get the best quality sleep, these are like things that you want to do in or out of prep. But they just become extremely important to get the best sleep possible when you start to have those wake ups or impacted sleep. But sleep quality is super important, right? Getting REM and getting good deep sleep, right? 2 to 3 hours of deep sleep and 2 to 3 hours of REM is what I personally ideally shoot for. And guess what, right? You can have 8 hours of sleep where you're getting like 1 hour of REM, 1 hour of deep sleep. But if you're doing this, you're winding down, you're getting that body temperature down, you're getting your resting heart rate down, you're going to have a lot more deep sleep and REM than if you're not doing those things. And you can have the same 8 hours where it's insanely high quality sleep, and you can have 8 hours where you're getting like 1 hour REM, 1 hour deep sleep. And so these things are important year round, not just in a prep deep cut scenario, like I said.
Yeah, because for the reasons we said before, sleep is always important. So setting the same time too, like as much as reasonably possible, that's also going to help your actual sleep quality, sleep consistency, sleep regularity, all the things that quantify good sleep. And if one of these things are off, it can affect your entire sleep. Like if everything is dialed, but it's bright or it's hot in your room or something like that, you're actually probably not going to be able to fall asleep, even though you did absolutely everything, but your room's too hot. So that's why it's important to pay attention to the specifics,
Yeah, dude, waking up at a way later time than you normally do is like you're so drowsy. It's horrible. You could get 8 hours of good sleep, but you sleep in 2 hours past your normal like circadian rhythms wake up time. You'll be so drowsy and out of it. It's so like you have to be so dialed if you want that elite level sleep every single night.
Which if you want to be the best bodybuilder you can be, it's really, really important alongside training and nutrition. So this one picture is a joke, but these are the sleep protocols that we do and that we program, and the highest leverage things you could do to actually improve your sleep. Like we said, circadian alignment. So this is your body's internal clock. You know, you have a different physiological state at different times throughout the day. You know, your body and also your gut, all of these things. So waking up in the morning, you want to see some sunlight, even if it's for 30 seconds. Just open your window or go out the door.
Steps in sun, baby. Steps in sun.
Go for a morning walk. That's like super high
Yeah.
leverage on setting your light environment, right? Also, you know, morning is usually higher cortisol, usually higher dopamine. So doing stressful things like training or hard tasks in the morning is good, and then easier tasks in the evening. Things that increase your body temperature are good in the morning. Things that lower your body temperature are good in the evening. So it depends on the time of day and your light environment, like we said. Red, you know, lower set lights, turning off overhead, flickering LEDs. Important at night. Grounding is huge. We see that graph there. So going out, putting your feet in the grass, there's actually good data on this. It lowers inflammation, sets your circadian rhythm. And as we can see in this graph, it you know, it regulates cortisol as well. There's very much less fluctuation. When
You just feel good after grounding. You could just feel the cortisol lowering when you're grounding. Honestly, it actually feels really good if you try it.
Yeah, there's a lot of like pseudoscience online when it comes to the whole, you know, natural fallacy thing, but grounding is actually super high leverage, super easy to do. And you can also get sheets that plug in the wall. So if you see your socket, the little small bottom piece, if you're American, is the grounding part. So you can actually get sheets that plug into the wall. So I actually have a code for these if you want them, but I use them for my bed. They've got peace out, Elliot. See ya. But yeah,
See this?
during sleep, grounding. When you get up in the morning, you go see the sun. Grounding before bed, doing some morning movements. These things are all beneficial.
And then yeah, sleep mask. I use the Therabody sleep mask. It vibrates and like for like 30 minutes and then it turns off automatically. Really helps shut your brain off and keep light from waking you up. So it's so nice. I highly recommend. Nose strips. I use the Second Wind nose strips. Highly recommend. As we are meant to nasally breathe. Benefits your dental health, but also your respiratory health, and you get way higher quality sleep when you are nose breathing instead of mouth breathing. Another thing you can do to prevent yourself from mouth breathing is mouth tape. So run the mouth tape, nose strip, sleep mask combo. You're locked in. And then the red light glasses I use are the Roca Andrew Huberman red light glasses.
I got some cheap ones on Amazon. I think they work well. Some brands actually send a blue light that you can turn on so you can see it blocks the blue light through the glasses, which is interesting. But yeah, red light glasses, hugely important protocol. I'd recommend everyone do that. Get the red ones. Someone just asked, are they all equal? No, the red ones are 100%. The orange ones are like 80, 90%. Then there's like yellow ones kind of for the daytime. They're much less. And then there's the clear ones that people call blue light blocking glasses, but they only block 10 to 30% of blue light. So they are not blocked. You can literally see the color blue through them. So how are they blocking the blue light, right? That's number one.
But as far as like red light versus red light, yeah, the cheap ones are the same as the expensive ones.
It's mostly the tint of the red light glasses. And then you don't want to be a mouth breather. Mouth breathing can also increase stress. It's a sign of stress to your body that you're not getting enough oxygen or something if you're mouth breathing. So mouth guard is also good too. It can stop you from mouth breathing. It also stops you from grinding. My dentist says I grind in the night, so respect to him. But I also am wearing away my enamel. So having a mouth guard helps you with your dental health, with proper tongue posture and proper nasal breathing as well.
Yeah, I think is that the last slide. We the media it's gonna end in 9 minutes here. So
Yeah, that's basically everything covering the why, the what, and the how of sleep. Do you guys have any questions?
yeah, let's open up for a little Q&A.
No question, but I'm on a road trip right now, and that was my little podcast. So I appreciate you guys.
Yes,
Yes.
sir. Gotta sleep, man, bro. Steps and sun.
Got you,
Set the
bro. Got
circadian
you.
rhythm.
Dude, the afternoon like sunset light has like helped me so much. Like I just tapped into that like the last month, and it's like crazy how awesome it is. But
Yeah, that's huge. Get your evening steps, hit your step cap, the sunset. That's
Yeah,
peak.
that's what I do. I just peek. AZ sunsets are fire too. Would a
Yeah.
retainer be somewhat effective as a mouth guard?
For grinding, yeah, like anything that goes over your teeth would help with grinding. But yeah, there's some brands that, there's different types of mouth guards. There's ones that mold to your mouth, and there's others that are, they kind of influence the soft tissue in your face. There's different kinds, but most are good. Most things that stop you from grinding, most things will put your tongue in a proper posture. If you go to your dentist, you can get, a prescription one, or you can, there's some good silicone ones online as well.
Can a nap compensate sleep time? Oh, good question. We didn't even cover naps.
Yeah.
For example, getting 6 hours sleep at night and then napping for about 1 to 2 hours in the afternoon.
It's not quite the same physiologically, and you don't want to rely on naps to make up for missed sleep. And you don't want to say, okay, I'm only going to get 6 hours of sleep tonight because I know I'll be able to have a 2-hour nap tomorrow. I would only implement naps if you're front loading sleep. If you're traveling, you're going to be jet lagged. If you know you're going to go out and party tonight, have a nap in advance. Don't try to nap the next day to make up for it. It's just a pretty practical protocol, I'd say.
And then, yeah, it can help a little bit, but the key is to not get drowsy off of it, right? Because who wants to be drowsy for the rest of the day, and who wants it to impact their sleep that night, and then you can't fall asleep at your normal time. So I'm pretty sure, according to studies and research, like 40 minutes to an hour is the sweet spot for a nap. Any longer than that, you get a little bit drowsy, and it can affect your sleep time that night, right? And you won't be able to fall asleep. So yeah, it's better than nothing, better than being sleep deprived, especially when you're traveling and jet lagged.
Right. Like it is good, it is beneficial. But even non-sleep deep rest during the day, if it's just a focus, a cognitive issue, but in terms of making up for like the consequences of lacking sleep, it's better than nothing, but it's not the same as getting a full night of sleep. You cut off screen time on your phone, but you're using your laptop to watch a video. When should you cut that off? It's up to you. If that helps you, like if that's a step up from being on your phone, you can do that kind of up to bed. I would just get off maybe 5-10 minutes before bed, at least if you're using blue light blocking glasses, stuff like that. If, some people fall asleep scrolling on their phones with no blue light blocking glasses. So if you put on some blue light blockers and you fall asleep watching something on your laptop, that's a step up. That's better. Ideally,
Yeah, watching a show is a lot different, I feel like, than scrolling, right? Scrolling it kills your wind down period. It kills your ability to fall asleep. If you're watching a video with red light glasses, that's definitely a lot better than scrolling on your phone.
Yeah, so if you fall asleep doing that with red light glasses, probably not going to impact your sleep as much. If you wanted to be 100% optimal, perfect, I would say like at least 30 minutes before bed or an hour before bed. No screens. An hour is a long time, but 30 minutes, no screens. Do your wind down routine without screens and do another relaxing activity like read or journal.
How to set your circadian rhythm back to normal as fast as possible. Set your alarm for the same time every single day and watch the sunset, watch the sunrise if you can. Or, I mean, I guess not watch the sunrise, but just go outside and get some natural sunlight as soon as you wake up.
Yep. Your gut has its own circadian rhythm as well. So eating around the same times, not eating too late, eating in the morning, right? If your circadian rhythm's messed up from like shift work, you're coming off of, a night shift job, or you're traveling, you're jet lagged, definitely lock in your eating times, lock in your wake times, lock in your sleep times, lock in your light environment. So bright light in the morning, red shades, and lower lights in the evening. Grounding is also good too if you have a chance, if it's good weather there. That helps. Like we see in that graph, right? It will help with your rhythm.
You can do some movement when you first wake up too. Like say you're waking up a bit groggy because you're not your circadian rhythm's not set to your new early wake up time. Some morning cardio can help, or some morning steps can really help a lot too.
Yeah, just do more of all the same stuff we kind of already said. How many mgs of magnesium biglycinate is adequate and not too much? I program at least, not medical advice, this is for education purposes only, but at least 400 milligrams of biglycinate. Make sure it's not buffered.
Okay. You can go up to like 800 though, if you've built up the tolerance.
I've even done like a gram of elemental magnesium. So magnesium biglycinate isn't the same as elemental magnesium. So make sure you get a brand that either specifies how much elemental magnesium or specifies that it's not buffered with magnesium oxide, because it's a cheap filler ingredient that's not easily absorbed. So
if client's having like diarrhea or digestive issues, sometimes I'll ask to see if there's any like magnesium oxide, if they're taking a multi for some reason, or if they accidentally got some magnesium glycinate that's buffered. The magnesium oxide could be the root cause of the diarrhea sometimes. It really is a laxative.
Yeah, don't count your magnesium or even most micronutrients from your multivitamin, because it's going to be those cheap ingredients.
Yeah.
Low bioavailable minerals, all the lower quality cheaper minerals are going to be in the multivitamins.
I think our meet's about to end here in 1 minute automatically, sort of off topic, but how do massages affect sleep quality? Maybe just lowering your cortisol, bro. Like I said, low cortisol, low stress is the best thing for sleep. Heightened heart rate and body temperature, but is the relaxation worth it? I feel like the relaxation from a massage could be worth it.
Is there a downside to a massage? I like the foam roll before bed. It's good for some people will claim like fascia released or just your connective tissue in general. Training the next day, it kind of just puts you in tune with your body, maybe less pain in the gym, maybe more mobility. So I don't see the downside to massages that we're trying to. Similar symptoms, like it will.
Like if you're getting a deep tissue massage and it's sending your heart rate through the roof.
Okay, not a deep tissue massage, but foam rolling lightly is good. If you're really digging in with a massage, then yeah, of course, anything stressful is going to do that. I don't know exactly how much it will raise body temperature, but
it just depends if it's like a deep tissue massage where you're sweating, or if it's like a girl giving you a wind down massage, man. Like there's a big difference.
Yes, sir. Okay. I think that's our last question. The meet might just cut off pretty soon. So
yeah, it's got a timer.
Yeah.
Yep.
We got the
anyone that posted a story will be entered into the Peak 90 merch giveaway. So appreciate you guys for joining.